Act 3 of Heresy is here, and that means all the intrinsics and catalysts are now available for the Barrow Dyad exotic SMG. So, what should you put on it for PvE? I've done a bunch of tests to show you exactly what to go for. First though, a quick note about acquiring the 4th catalyst, Target Lock, because I'm seeing a lot of confusion in comments online. If you've already acquired it, feel free to skip this part, timestamps are in the description. I'm including this here because the steps to get it are far more time consuming than previous catalysts, as you will have to get very good RNG for specific nether secrets, and the areas they appear in are not any of the 3 starting zones either, so you will have to clear redundant sections of the nether first to even have a chance to see the ones you want. It took me multiple hours until I eventually found them all, so be aware of that going in. The items you're looking for are 3 coalescing knives, which for some reason don't show up in the inventory, so you just have to remember that you found them. 1 from a mission dossier as part of the Act 3 Part 1 questline, and 2 from the Nether. The mission dossier that gave me a knife was Blade Logic, where you have to defeat Taken with a sword or glaive, which makes sense in context, so it's probably the same for everyone. One of the Nether secrets you need is in the founts. You need to look for a small round rune on one of the pillars in the upper corridor section here, just off from the big grinding disc thing that's in one half of the boss room. It's not always on the same pillar, but it should be in this room, so have a good look at all the pillars before giving up. Shoot the rune and a door opens in the wall to a simple maze-like area. Navigate the maze until you find a small Taken Blight, shoot it and the chest will appear, which rewards a coalescing knife. The second secret is in Hull Breach. Head to this upper ledge overlooking the breach and scan Toland next to the Cabal flag. A Skyburner will spawn behind you, defeat it, then go under the ledge and use the codes to drop the force field and open the chest. Beware the explosive barrel on the right though, especially if you don't have any revives left when you get to this point. Once you've got all 3 coalescing knives and are worthy, the tithing hand you can interact with to activate the portal for the Catalyst quest is in a side room in the Hull Breach, but a very important point here, this must be in a private nether instance. If you get here in a match-made nether, the hand will be completely inactive. It won't even tell you you're lacking a tithe or not, and you can't activate it. I found this out the hard way before I eventually had success with a nether explore. Other guide videos I've seen haven't mentioned this point, which is why I'm going out of my way to do so here. Because the previous 2 hand portals were in starting zones, presumably everyone was just reloading explore until they got the zone they wanted, and didn't even realise it doesn't work in match-made. After opening the chest, visit the shaping slab to start the quest. First find all 10 ravenous worms, which only appear in the nether when on the path of resolve. Presumably you'll just need the last 2 from Hull Breach, which are inside a hole in the big sword, and hanging underneath the edge of the breach itself. Then complete the Derealize mission with Barrow Dyad equipped to receive Target Lock. So now you've unlocked everything, what to pick at the Enclave for PvE. As for catalysts, you can dismiss high impact reserves as it's basically a worse version of Target Lock, and Hatchling is Hatchling. If you're desperate for Threadlings in your build for some reason, you can pick that, but really the choice comes down to One for All or Target Lock. And one thing that might inform our choice is a unique property of the level 5 Panic Response Intrinsic, which you get from completing step 1 of the Dyadic Perfection quest. Find all 6 new Taken Osseous fragments in the Sunless Cell strike, and complete the strike. If you haven't acquired the One for All Catalyst quest yet, make sure you also equip Barrow Dyad before you finish the strike to start that too. For levels 1 to 4, the behaviour of the Blightseekers was determined by the active path at the Shaping Slab and the Taken Divergence perk. Resolve generated more Blight from hitting 3 separate enemies, and Seekers overpenetrated targets, whereas Ambition built more Blight from sustained damage, and Seekers burrowed and exploded for significantly more damage to those afflicted. With level 5, however, you can select which of these you want to put on the weapon permanently, Taken Resolution or Taken Ambition. I tested One for All and Target Lock on each of these options, both for single target damage and ad clear, and I would recommend Taken Ambition for both catalysts. You might think that Resolution would be better for ad clear, but honestly you barely notice the difference in the increased Blight generation or Seeker overpenetration, as weaker enemies fall over to exotic primaries anyway, whereas the increased damage from the burrowing Exploder Blights from Ambition is much more useful when you come up against tougher enemies. So then which catalyst do you pick? And well, the answer depends on what you want to use Barrow Dyad for. I'm actually going to craft 2, one for general ad clear with One for All, and one for single target damage with target lock. Here's why. The downside of target lock in a general ad clear scenario is that you lose all stacks when missing a bullet or stopping firing, and that includes when you reload to turn all the stored blight into burst damage seekers at the start of the next mag. So effectively, target lock is only buffing the normal bullets and not the seekers. Target lock ramps up to ×4 over the course of the entire mag, so on average increases damage by approximately 25% as long as you never miss. ×5 is normally only possible when shooting an overfilled mag, which Barrow Dyad can't do. However, the Blight Seekers count as bullets, so when firing a mag which started with a Seeker Burst, you do actually reach ×5 for a short while at the end. Which is a nice bonus, but One for All still clears it by a significant margin, with a damage bonus of 35% which applies to all the bullets and the Seeker Burst. And in an ad clear scenario, it's obviously very easy to hit 3 different targets to proc, so I would definitely go for Taken Ambition with One for All as the ad clear option. But the reason I'm also going to keep a Taken Ambition and target lock roll is for pure single target damage when there aren't other enemies around to be able to proc One for All. For example, at the end of a long damage phase against a boss, when heavy and special are expended and you have to swap to a primary. I did some quick tests against the Grasp Ogre with a Well of Radiance and no other buffs, debuffs or artifact mods, and outdamaged Outbreak easily with 1.36 million versus 1.15. Obviously Outbreak ramps up nanite damage faster with more users, but for pure ease of use, solo, or just not having to worry about what my teammates are running, I'm still going to be reaching for Barrow Dyad in this case. Hunters might still prefer Lucky Pants for this, but this will probably be the best pick for Warlocks, and definitely Titans who can pair it with Peacekeepers. Here I reach 2.29 million with just a Well of Radiance and no other buffs, debuffs or artifact mods. Don't worry, the Sever and Hellion from the Warlock you see here isn't affecting my damage at all, I just needed someone else to place a well so it was comparable with my other tests. And don't forget, this act especially with artifact mods for easy unravelling rounds, free threadlings and bonus damage from combining with Sever effects, it will be even better this episode as well. Finally, for barrel, mag and stock, I'd recommend leaning into stability and reload. Base stability of only 35 does kick a lot, and I noticed a big improvement getting it to 55 with polygonal rifling and heavy grip, especially for the target lock roll where missing a single bullet loses all stacks. Then for magazine, I recommend Alloy Mag, which offers the fastest possible reload when the mag is empty. Flared Magwell is only a tiny bit slower reload and gives an extra 5 stability, so wouldn't be a bad choice here, but I'm personally happy going full reload as the most damage comes from the Blight Seeker Burst, and a faster reload means you can do these more often. There is potentially an argument for increasing mag size with appended mag for slightly more blight generation and direct bullet damage, but I'd still rather have a faster reload as the base reload is fairly slow. And that's everything. If you have any other questions about the role, quest lines or nether secrets, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.